In this episode, Popcorn and Compliance, the MCU, we take up Megan's favorite, Thor-Ragnarok. Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back again with Megan Dougherty for our continuing challenge to review the entire MCU on Popcorn and Compliance. Why? Well, once again, it's here, it's there, and we are uber geeks. Today, we're going to do more than uber geek out because you're going to see Megan in a way you have never seen or heard her. And that's because we continue with her probably favorite movie of all time ever, not simply the MCU, Thor Ragnarok. I am Tom Fox, the voice of compliance and founder of the Compliance Podcast Network.
I'm Megan Dougherty, co-founder of One Stone Creative and host of the business podcast Blueprint Show. And you're very, very close, Tom. It's my favorite MCU movie, but it doesn't quite edge out my all-time favorite movie of all time, which is 1996 blockbuster smash hit Independence Day. There are actors in common, however, which we will be getting to. But yes, as you say, Thor Ragnarok, this was one of the first MCU movies I ever saw, maybe the first one. I can't remember if I saw this one or Black Panther first, but it has been my most rewatched movie, my most quoted movie. I have watched it in both official languages. It is a fantastic film. So before I go on forever and ever and ever, I think you had a better experience on this rewatch of it than you might have had previously. So I would like to hear about that.
Yeah, and I don't know what it was because it literally started in the first scene with Led Zeppelin and the Immigrant Song, and he gets in this huge fight with one of the ultimate bad guys in the universe, Sultor, I believe, who's this fire god whose mission or destiny is to destroy Asgard, and they had this fabulous fight to the Immigrant Song, and that becomes a musical trope throughout the movie, and it started with that, and I rocked out the entire movie. I never liked the Grand Master until this viewing, and I got him this time, finally. The reason I thought he was so bored is he is bored because he just wants to play games, and everything's a game to him. I had never fully appreciated to the Megan Dougherty level of the humor of Thor until this. He was just hilarious. And they gave him more, they gave Thor and Chris Hemsworth more lines to just absolutely revel in this movie. The characters, the Valkyrie, starting off as a number 142, the other gladiators, I found a whole new appreciation of them. I never really got the Hulk story here, but there was a lot of pathos in that particular part of his story. Loki, he is the ultimate trickster in this movie of all the Loki things we've ever seen, including the Loki series, limited television series that streamed on Disney. He can turn literally in a minute, and if things don't go right for him, he just flips and goes the other way because it's in his interest to do so. So lots going on with Loki, Odin, Thor, Heimdall, Asgard, Earth,
Hela,
and we haven't even gotten to Hela yet.
I haven't even gotten to Hela yet.
Yeah. So I've ranted and raved, but I really just wanted to uncork you and just have you go. So
well, I guess I'll just start off with we'll call it a thanks to the director Taika Waititi, who if he could just be in charge of all movies from now on, I'd be completely fine with that. Have you seen a lot of his other work, Tom?
No.
Okay, I cannot recommend strongly enough. You enjoy some of it. There's some references in Thor Ragnarok to some of his earlier films, What We Do in the Shadows, about vampires. Excellent. Hunt for the Wilder People, really great film. He just recently came out with a TV series called Our Flag Means Death about pirates on the high seas. Brilliant comedy. And just what he brought to the MCU, this kind of taking what Joss Whedon had started with some of the earlier, the lighter-heartedness, the wittiness, and he just took it up to 11. So absolutely everything that some of his characters, he played one of the characters. He played Korg, the Cronin. So everything he said was hilarious. But overall, for a really funny movie that was a great standalone film that also fit really well into the broader MCU universe, it talked about important things, truth, the history, where we come from, how much where we come from impacts who we are and who we have to be, and how to make choices in spite of that. And a lot of really beautiful imagery around the cycles of life. So, the Asgard, the North mythology cycle of birth to existence, the 9 realms to Ragnarok, and on it continues. That echoed in, what happened with Odin. He had his life, he had his first child, hid them, had the next child, then the current cycle, lost an eye. Thor's now going through exactly the same thing. Everyone's coming into their own, understanding their place in the destiny, and ultimately, what is truly important, what is inside. And I've got a whole lot more I'm sure I want to get into, but what were some of the themes that you really picked up on when you were watching it? What are the ones that really hit home strongest for you?
One was really the pathos of Banner / the Hulk.
Mhm.
He had been the Hulk, I think, for 2 years in this movie, and he when he reverts back to being Bruce Banner, really through the intercession of a good woman. So we had the good woman coming in to save her man. How very, very medieval, romantic. He recognizes that he's basically got one more shot, and if he goes back to being the Hulk, he's going to stay that way permanently. The second was the Valkyrie,
Mm.
and so I've had a lot of struggles with drink in my life, and so I understand that. But what I didn't understand until I rewatched this was the depth of her pain for having all of her sisters slaughtered by Hela in the last big Valkyrie battle. And that the survivor's guilt that she felt was so great. She literally was drinking herself, not simply stupid, but at one point she fell off a ramp coming off her ship. She was so drunk.
Hell
And
of an entrance, though.
hell of an entrance.
Hell of an entrance.
But the whole Valkyrie story, I'm a big lover of the Valkyries, love the dance of the Valkyries, love the ride of the Valkyries, still play that Apocalypse Now theme. So that whole story was great. And my sneaking suspicion is we'll see the Valkyries a little bit later on down the road. And that will be very cool too. The other gladiators play a key role in this movie. So that was cool. The part of the myth story or the creation story that you talked about in terms of renewal, death, regeneration. We see these people of Asgard leaving in what I thought was Noah's Ark, and that we have a very dark foreshadowing of that at the end. So that was interesting. The losing the eye. Obviously, Odin was one-eyed, and Thor loses an eye in this. It wasn't clear to me if that was simply a curse on the house that every king was destined to lose an eye, or really there was a deeper significance to that. I hadn't really figured that one out. But I guess the biggest thing about this movie, Megan, is it was fun.
Oh, it was fun.
It started out fun. In the opening scene before the immigrant song starts, he is completely chained up, hanging in the air, and basically says to Saitra, I've got you exactly where I want you. It reminded me of the scene from The Avengers where Natasha's tied to a chair, and
Yes.
they actually call her, and she says, I'm in the middle of an interrogation. Don't bother me. I'm working. And he's like, yeah, I've got you just where I want you. And then the immigrant song kicks off with Jimmy Page's axe guitar work, and it's just rocks. And it rocked the whole way through.
Mhm.
So I probably had as much fun watching and rewatching this movie as any other one that I've seen.
Yeah, it did so many things so well, and it was gorgeous. I mean, it wasn't like, deep hyper tech, gritty space stuff. It was bright, it was colorful, it was kind of ridiculous at times. It was just so much fun. And I love what you were saying about Hulk and the pathos of Banner and that kind of return. And I really like that Hulk became a character in and of himself. He wasn't just a monster while he was on Sakaar. He was finally being referred to and appreciated as and valued as himself, as Hulk. And Hulk the monster, or Hulk the gladiator, he had friends. He could make jokes. He could have a conversation about his feelings with Thor. He was becoming more of a person. And I think that sets the stage for the Professor Hulk we're going to be seeing in the future. So I loved that. And I think the gladiatorial scene where Thor and is going to fight the Grandmaster's champion, and it's terrifying. And it turns out my buddy from work, and then they kick each other's butts for a little while. To compare it to that point where, where Natasha in the Quinjet ultimately did get Banner back out and kind of taking dominance over Hulk again. I thought it was so funny that Thor tried and failed to use the sun's getting real low, buddy. It's getting real dark. He is not Natasha Romanoff. And the impact was not the same.
Right. We also had an appearance of Doctor Strange in this movie. Mm-hmm. And here Doctor Strange counseled, I would say, Thor about his wayward brother, Loki. Tom Hiddleston is a fabulous actor. I love everything he does, and he was great in this movie as well. So we got to see Doctor Strange, which was very cool for me. But what I really want you to just start talking about is Thor. And you've loved Thor from the minute you saw him. And so what was it about him in this movie that you just absolutely fell in love with and continue to love to this day?
The absolute, straight arrow on motivation. Thor has come into his own. He knows what he's working for. He doesn't know the best way to do it yet, but he is going to do it by, gosh darn it. He's almost got a Captain America level of moral guidance happening inside. And I think for me, what really got me the most, it's always humor. And he is so funny. And the delivery, like the actor, Chris Hemsworth, I think, brilliant timing. Thank goodness they finally gave him some room to really demonstrate how amusing and how funny he can be. The liking that he has for other people, the way he can get other people to connect with him and work together. He was this lone solo warrior at the beginning of his arc, and now all he wants to do is put together a team. There's a project, we got to put together a team. And I love the way he's able to get people on board with it. Banner just wanted to go home to Earth, but he's like, no, I'm going to help these people of Asgard because this is important to my friend. I'm on the team, whatever it means for me. Valkyrie, very good reason to want to forget all of the horrible things that happened in the past. You help the people, the throne that put her into this horrible situation in the first place. For Thor, okay, yeah, no, back on board. And she is amazing. I think she probably also lost her girlfriend / wife in that battle. That's my personal theory. But
yes.
Yeah, totally. And then even with Loki, because he's still trickster, but Thor understands him. And at the very, very end, he thinks it's another illusion, but Loki's actually there, doing proving he cannot be trusted. He cannot be relied upon to be predictable. He's always, but he was there for Thor as part of the team in saving the people of Asgard. Basically, this movie kind of hit all of my buttons for what makes a really good film. It talked about important things. It did it in a hilarious way. There was at least a little bit of queer representation, even if we had to imagine it. And Jeff Goldblum.
I didn't think you had to imagine it. I think the Valkyries, that was the Valkyries.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're spot on that she did lose her wife or a lover. You're absolutely right. What about I read in preparation for this, one of the articles I read said they needed a Jeff Greenblum type actor, and they got the best Jeff Greenblum imitator there is, which is Jeff Greenblum, to play Jeff Greenblum, and he was great. Yeah. So that was great. His role was great. He is the brother of the Collector,
Yeah.
which I had not fully appreciated as well. We got to see the Infinity Stones. So that was a nice touch. Once I've mentioned the Immigrant Song about 17 times. I'm going to mention it one more time.
That final battle scene.
Yes.
I mean, other than maybe the end game final battle scene, it's one of the best ones.
And then they have a little subgroup of the Avengers. These were called the Divengers or the Defenders or the Revengers. So that was good as well. Once again, great special effects, great action scenes. But for me, what elevated this movie to a level that I did not appreciate was the humor. And just they really unleashed, Chris Hemsworth unleashed his inner Thor. And it was just great because he's...
And you know why, Tom?
Why?
Because that's what heroes do. That's what heroes do.
That's what heroes do. So that's, if those of you who didn't know, that's Megan's favorite phrase, because that's what heroes do.
We use it around the house a lot. It's like, oh, we really need to do the dishes. Well, I guess we better, because that's what heroes do.
And he did. So really, we both thoroughly enjoyed this. And unfortunately, we're near the end of this episode, but I'm Tom Fox.
And I'm Megan. Sorry. And I'm always cutting you off when you say you're the voice of compliance. I'm sorry about that. I'm Megan Dougherty from One Stone Creative. And we will see you next time on Popcorn and Compliance in the MCU, where we take up Ant-Man and the Wasp.
This is Tom Fox again. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Popcorn and Compliance, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I hope you'll join Megan and I again next time, where we take up Ant-Man and the Wasp.